What if humanity is not progressing forward, but moving in circles? What if every war, every collapse, every golden age has already happened before? Ancient civilizations believed consciousness moves in cycles. And that forgetting is part of the design. If that's true, then history isn't repeating by accident. It's repeating because we are meant to remember something we keep losing. Stay until the end, because this cycle ends only when awareness begins. Humanity has always believed in linear progress. We are taught that time moves forward, that civilization advances, that technology makes us wiser. Yet when we step back and observe history without emotion, a disturbing pattern emerges. The same mistakes repeat themselves across centuries, cultures, and continents. Empires rise, reach unimaginable heights of power and sophistication, and then collapse under the weight of their own excess. New societies are born from the ruins, convinced they are different, only to walk the same path again. Ancient civilizations did not see this as coincidence. They called it the law of cycles. In Hindu cosmology, time unfolds through vast repeating ages known as yugas, each representing a decline in consciousness rather than technological ability. In ancient Greece, philosophers spoke of the Great Year, a cosmic cycle after which all events repeat in exact detail. Egyptian priests believed humanity moved through spiritual ages governed by Ma'at, cosmic balance, followed by inevitable forgetting. These traditions all pointed to the same unsettling truth: progress without consciousness leads nowhere. What modern society calls advancement often coincides with moral fragmentation, loss of meaning, and disconnection from inner awareness. When collective consciousness becomes overly externalized, obsessed with power, control, and material accumulation, the cycle begins to decay. Corruption increases, wisdom fades, and eventually collapse resets the system. This is not punishment. It is correction. The cycle is not imposed from outside humanity. It originates within the human psyche itself. Consciousness expands, reaches a threshold, then collapses inward when it loses self-awareness. Every civilization believed it was the exception. None were. And here is the uncomfortable question. Are we repeating the cycle again, or approaching the moment where it can finally be broken? If consciousness naturally evolves, why does humanity keep regressing into the same destructive behaviors? Ancient initiates understood something modern psychology still struggles to accept: consciousness does not automatically grow, it must be maintained. Awareness is not permanent. It decays when attention shifts outward and identity becomes entangled with external systems rather than inner perception. Every major collapse in history followed the same psychological pattern. Societies began prioritizing control over understanding, belief over inquiry, and authority over wisdom. Spiritual traditions were institutionalized, knowledge was centralized, and symbols replaced lived experience. When consciousness becomes symbolic instead of experiential, it stagnates. People stop knowing and start believing. That is the beginning of regression. The ancient mystery schools taught that forgetting was not a flaw, it was a stage. Souls incarnated into density to experience separation, limitation, and identity. But forgetting was meant to be temporary. The danger begins when a civilization forgets that it has forgotten. At that point, myths are taken literally, power structures harden, and truth becomes dangerous. This is why advanced civilizations often destroyed themselves without external invasion. The collapse was internal first. Consciousness contracted. Fear replaced curiosity. Certainty replaced awareness. Eventually, the structure could no longer support itself. Modern neuroscience unintentionally confirms this ancient view. Studies show that when humans operate primarily from fear-based identity systems, cognitive flexibility decreases. Perception narrows. Empathy declines. Decision-making becomes repetitive and reactive. In other words, consciousness loops. The ancients warned that technology without consciousness accelerates the cycle. Tools amplify intent, but cannot correct it. Without awareness, advancement only speeds up collapse. Ancient texts often speak of a veil, a deliberate forgetting placed upon humanity. Plato referred to it as anamnesis reversed, the forgetting of truth upon incarnation. The Sumerians described humanity as beings who once walked with the gods but lost remembrance. In Egypt, initiates believed knowledge was intentionally fragmented and hidden in symbols to survive future collapses. Why? Because direct knowledge is dangerous in unconscious hands. When civilizations fall, raw truth rarely survives. But symbols do. Myths do. Architecture does. Sacred geometry does. These are not decorations. They are containers of memory, designed to be rediscovered when consciousness matures enough to decode them. This is why every civilization rebuilt the same structures: pyramids, ziggurats, obelisks, mandalas. The shapes remained because the memory was geometric, not linguistic. Language decays. Symbols endure. Humanity was never meant to permanently remember everything. We were meant to relearn. Each cycle tests whether consciousness can recover awareness before self-destruction resets the board. The unsettling realization is this: the cycle does not end when technology peaks. It ends when awareness returns. Every civilization that collapsed believed it was saved by its technology. Tools promised efficiency, power, permanence. Yet technology has never slowed the cycle of consciousness, it has only accelerated it. Ancient myths warn of this moment. In Greek legend, Daedalus' labyrinth symbolized technology without wisdom, complex, powerful, and impossible to escape. In Hindu cosmology, the final stages of Kali Yuga are marked by machines that outpace moral awareness. Technology amplifies intention, not intelligence. When collective consciousness is fragmented, tools magnify fragmentation. Surveillance replaces trust. Algorithms replace intuition. Speed replaces reflection. The cycle tightens. Our era is unique because technology now shapes perception itself. Attention is monetized. Memory is outsourced. Identity becomes data. The danger is not artificial intelligence, it is artificial awareness, a collective state where humans stop observing themselves. Ancient initiates warned that when tools become extensions of ego rather than awareness, collapse follows swiftly. Not by invasion, but by overload. Systems become too complex to understand, too fast to regulate, too powerful to question. The cycle does not punish innovation. It punishes unconscious acceleration. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the unconscious material a society refuses to face. Ancient civilizations understood it as a living force. In Egyptian myth, it was Apep, the serpent of chaos that returned every night. In Mesopotamia, it was the flood. The shadow never disappears. It waits. When societies suppress truth, deny fear, and externalize blame, the shadow grows. Eventually, it manifests as war, extremism, collapse, or collective madness. The cycle demands integration, not denial. Modern civilization externalizes its shadow through conflict and polarization. Every enemy reflects a denied aspect of ourselves. This is why history repeats with different names but identical dynamics. The ancients believed the cycle only breaks when the shadow is consciously integrated, when individuals reclaim responsibility for their inner chaos rather than projecting it outward. Collapse begins inside the psyche long before it appears in history books. Every cycle preserved a group tasked with remembering. Not rulers. Not kings. Witnesses. Shamans, monks, scribes, mystics. Their role was not to save civilization, but to carry fragments of awareness through collapse. This is why sacred knowledge was hidden in myths, rituals, architecture. Direct truth would have been destroyed. Encoded truth survived. Initiation was never about power. It was about responsibility. Knowledge given too early destabilizes societies. Knowledge withheld too long condemns them. The modern world lacks a recognized priesthood of memory. Instead, information floods indiscriminately. The cycle becomes chaotic because nothing is contextualized. Awareness requires containment. Every cycle reaches a compression phase. Events accelerate. Polarity intensifies. Systems destabilize. Ancient texts describe this moment as the narrowing. We are living in it. The signs are not mystical, they are psychological. Shortened attention spans. Emotional volatility. Loss of shared meaning. When consciousness fragments faster than integration, reset becomes inevitable. But ancient wisdom offers an alternative, conscious exit from the cycle. Not survival. Transcendence. This requires individuals to awaken faster than systems collapse. The cycle does not end collectively. It ends individually, one awareness at a time. Ancient initiates taught that a critical mass of awakened individuals alters the entire field. Consciousness behaves like resonance. One tuned instrument can retune others. This is why tyrannies feared mystics more than armies. Awareness collapses cycles quietly. The goal is not to remember facts. It is to remember how to perceive. Civilizations repeat mistakes because they remember outcomes, not causes. Awareness dissolves repetition. The cycle ends when perception shifts from reaction to observation. The hidden truth is simple and terrifying. The cycle continues because it can. It ends only when awareness no longer feeds it. History does not trap us. Unconsciousness does. You are not watching history repeat. You are watching consciousness decide whether to awaken. And that decision is happening now. If human history truly moves in cycles, then awareness is the only force capable of interrupting repetition. The ancients believed the greatest prison was not chains or walls, but unconsciousness, the inability to observe oneself while acting. Every collapse, every rebirth, every so-called dark age was not the failure of civilization, but the forgetting of perception. Today, you are not merely watching a video. You are standing inside a question humanity has faced again and again: will we repeat the cycle, or will we finally see it while it happens? Awareness does not require belief. It requires observation. When you begin to observe your reactions, your fears, your attachments, the cycle loosens its grip. History no longer pulls you forward unconsciously, you walk through it awake. If this video resonated with you, it means you are already remembering something ancient. Something that does not belong to the past, but to the present moment. If you want to continue exploring hidden patterns of consciousness, forgotten laws of reality, and the deeper mechanics behind human experience, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Like this video if it expanded your perception, and share it with someone who feels the same quiet sense that something in this world keeps repeating, and is ready to be understood. The cycle does not end with destruction. It ends with awareness. And awareness begins with you.